Welcome back to UML Operator. In this channel, we talk about UML and computer-aided software engineering. This is part 2 of a multi-part series on system and software engineering. We're going to explain the concept of operations by section, starting with introduction. I like saying the concept of operations because it's better than saying solution approach. It's more than a solution approach. The concept of operation, or ConOps, may consist of multiple artifacts, starting with the marketing sheet or project proposal that helps the company or group gain funding for the effort and delivery. But before we get into part 3, building a reusable ConOps document template to be reused in Sparks Enterprise Architect, we need to break down and talk about each one of the sections in a concept of operation. So let's get started. So let's start with introduction. The introduction section of the concept of operations explains the reason for this ConOps, whatever the document is, its intended audience, and how this document should be used in particularly to the project that's in scope. We also talk about the scope. We define the system at a high level, the product or capabilities to be addressed, and we clearly state what is in scope and out of scope. We provide a background and problem statement, describe the current situation, drivers for change, and the business or operational need. We also include some references, and we may point to the appendix down below. This lists the policies, standards, strategies, requirement documents, and supporting materials. We also take an opportunity to start building our definitions, our glossaries, especially around our acronyms. Some companies are very acronym friendly and have a lot of abbreviations that use in the document. So be sure within the introduction, as well as going through the other sections, that you spell out the abbreviation at least one time and first, and then you can use it throughout the rest of the artifact. Provide key terms to ensure shared understanding. This gets around domain-driven design and ubiquitous languages, but it's very important that folks understand what a platform is, a framework, an application, because in different projects or in different cultures, it may mean something else. Over on the right, I have some examples of a project that we're working on, and these are just demonstration examples of the purpose, the scope, the background, references, and then definitions. Next, we get into the operational vision section of the artifact, and this provides the desired future state and vision summary. Describe what the future will look like once the system or capability has been implemented. Provide objectives and success criteria. Provide measurable goals, mission objectives, key performance indicators, or performance targets for success. And over on the right side in the notes, in this particular example, we explain what our system is, what the future is to be, and provide a vision summary, including success criteria. The next section of the concept of operation deals with stakeholders and users. And so provide a stakeholder overview, identify main stakeholder groups, their roles, interests, and level of influence. And in a following episode, when we get into using a framework, and I'll be using TOGAF, the Open Group Architecture Framework, as the framework that we're going to be applying to the concept of operations artifact, document, and template, we'll be focusing in on the actor catalog. And then this will help with user classes and characteristics to describe the end user groups, skills, responsibilities, and any special needs or constraints. And this could include both your customers and your employees, your human resources that are supporting the company and the project delivery, including contractors. The next section of the document is around operational context, and this is dealing with system context and boundaries. So here we define the system boundary, external systems in particular. I think that's very important and often missing. We describe the interfaces and the interaction context, communication diagrams and things like that. And we include a block diagram, a context diagram, if possible. And that diagram could be something simple, such as what you see here, or it could be getting into a block diagram or a more detailed diagram. And in a little bit later on in the section, or part of this as far as the reference data, may be around your component view. So very important within this particular section that we ensure that we're identifying the system context and boundaries. As you're working through this, just as through the beginning, you're continually building on your assumptions and constraints. So especially through the operational context, you want to make sure that you're capturing the assumptions, limitations, dependencies, regulatory constraints, and technology constraints. The next section is the operational scenarios, and this is probably one of the most important things that we do as software engineers in a project working with all stakeholders, and that's to provide 3 or more scenarios to demonstrate system usage during normal, degraded, maintenance, startup, shutdown, and emergency modes. So we will build use cases and scenarios that specifically talk about the trigger events, the actors from the actor catalog, we talked about in stakeholder and users, preconditions, your main flow, your alternate flow, and post conditions. And these are things that we've talked about in this channel regarding use cases and building scenarios. And as we get into our template, we are going to define what a use case or what a scenario has to include at the minimum as we're building that out. So just as an example, when we do get into it, you might have sequence diagrams, you may have use case diagrams, and each use case is going to have scenarios that are going to be driving activity diagrams and other auto-generated diagrams that may not be in the main part of the concept of operations or the artifact documents that you're working on, but definitely will be part of the appendix explaining and working towards the objective in the project that you're delivering. The next section is around operational capabilities and requirements, and again, at a high level. So we're going to list high-level operational capabilities required to enable mission and business objectives. We're going to describe the purpose and benefits of each capability and how it supports the operational vision. Be clear, and again, this is when you're defining your terms that are going to be used. Please make sure everyone understands what a capability is. And a capability expresses a high-level business need, while a requirement breaks that capability into detailed testable statements. And you may be talking about certain features at high level, and they implement those requirements into user-facing functionality. And user-facing or actor-facing, where the actor could be a machine, especially when we get into AI and machine learning. The next section deals with the operational environment, and here we break out the high-level understanding of the physical environment. That's the physical location, conditions, facilities, resources, and environmental factors. We get into the technical environment. This is dealing with existing systems, infrastructure, platforms, integration, interfaces, and technical dependencies. We also get into the organizational environment. These are affected departments, roles, process changes, governance, and cultural impacts. And finally, this section addresses or starts to address the support and maintenance concept, how the system will be supported post-launch, including help desk training, upgrades, and maintenance strategy or strategies. And so we may be including a view of the component view, a deployment view at a high level, and may include down in the appendix the deployment plan, which gets into further detail. The ConOps will not necessarily get into this level of detail, but it needs to point to and reference what your deployment view is as you're developing and deploying the project. The next section of the document is around system lifecycle concepts. And this describes the system that will be developed, tested, implemented, transitioned to or from, operated, updated, and retired or sunset. And this includes ownership, lifecycle phases, support model, and readiness or transition plan considerations. This is a very important section to address, especially when your effort deals with obsolete architecture or a transition from obsolete architecture and technologies to new architecture and technologies. So the next section we're going to talk about is risk mitigation, and system lifecycle concept is definitely going to be adding to your risks, your assumptions, your constraints, and any mitigations therefore. The next section is around risks and mitigations. And it's very important to understand that when you're working the concept of operations, whether it's one or multiple artifacts, that you start building on the risk mitigations as soon as possible. And this section is going to include your assumptions, your dependencies, your constraints, as well as any mitigation to negative impacts to the project delivery or the company during the project implementation. And this section identifies those key risks related to adoption, operations, people. And when we're talking about people, training is a valuable risk that you need to look at when you're launching a new product or technology. We're going to be talking about in this section the risks related to process, data, especially data in this day and age around privacy and regulatory concerns, the technologies that are implemented, as well as any compliance to those regulatory concerns or other laws that are impacting the delivery of the project. And we want to provide impact, likelihood, and proposed mitigation for each risk as we're collecting them. And they could start out very draft in the very beginning, but be sure that you're maintaining this section throughout the concept of operations and any system and software engineering. And finally, at the end of the document, we get to the appendices. And the appendix materials may include diagrams, glossaries, compliance mapping, detailed data, and background analysis. And this section can be just as long, if not longer, than the original artifact or artifacts, because this is where all of the related details and data intelligence is located as the user is going through the concept of operations and relevant artifacts that are included. All right, we're going to wrap up now. I can't wait to get to the next section where we're going to actually take the concept of operations and extend from a framework such as the Open Group Architecture Framework, TOGAF. This is the ADM, or the application development method, as it's related to Archimate. You may not be using Archimate in your delivery, but we will talk about it a little bit as we're getting into it. We're going to be getting into other aspects of TOGAF as we're looking at the concept of operations pertaining to system and software engineers, as well as all stakeholders in the delivery effort, understanding that a stakeholder has a mission. They have concerns, views, and viewpoints. And so we'll be getting into that. We'll be getting into the taxonomy of architecture viewpoints as it relates to each stakeholder's views and viewpoints, especially the system and software engineers. And as we relate this to AI engineering, which is a space I've been working in for the last 15 years, that this information is going to be mission critical over the last 10, 15 years as regulatory and privacy data concerns have grown around the world. The concept of operations is a very important artifact to bring all the stakeholders together in your delivery objectives. So can't wait to get to that next episode. And until then, happy modeling.